Number one, I think that we are very creative, and we had to be very creative because of the time that we chartered the club. Creativity was what it was all about. We were also very curious, and I really believe that if you get together a group of people that are really curious, there is no end to what you can do. And then you have to have a lot of courage to actually go forward and do what you are creating. And not always is that going to be accepted by everybody.
Well, 1989 was the year that Rotary came up and said women would be admitted to Rotary. Well, it was a complete and major change for us, for many clubs, and I amongst them weren't really jumping at the opportunities.
This fellow said to me, there will never be women in Rotary. And if women, he said, that will happen over my dead body. And I thought, you know, that is the challenge we need. And it just fired us up. When I talked to a colleague at work, his name was Bob Kavanaugh, and he was very instrumental in helping us get the club going. He said to me, well, when I was talking to him about this and sort of mulling it over, and he said, well, why don't you start a Rotary Club? And I said, Rotary? Like, what's Rotary? Now, you have to remember that this was 1989, and women were not allowed into Rotary until 1989. So we pretty much didn't know much about Rotary. When I saw the four-way test for Rotary, I was overwhelmed. It was that four-way test that really was so profoundly important to the foundation of starting our Rotary Club. And it really goes back to Paul Harris. When he started the club in Chicago years ago, it was the inspiration that he had, the fellowship that he wanted amongst a group of business people in his area, why Rotary started in the first place. So that's very much analogous to the way that we felt when we were starting the club in Edmonton, Alberta, to be chartered by all women. A lot of the women we talked to said, why would I want to belong to an all-women's club? Like, we've just sort of branched out. The males in the business community have now started to really recognize that we have some talent and some contribution to make. And so why would we piece ourselves off as an all-women's club?
Then we discussed how there was a club who would not allow women members in the club. And there was the feeling that really we didn't want to join a club who didn't want us, so we should do it ourselves and just make it go.
Yeah, what I saw, as I think I mentioned, was the fact that there was such a wide range of businesses and expertise that they had, and that it seemed like they all were working, not so much necessarily looking at rules, so much as getting a job done. And that was really the thing that impressed me the most, was the way they were going about. They were going to make it happen, the best of their ability, and so that's what really enthused me about that club.
So there was two things that we felt pretty strongly about. We did not want reverse discrimination in the club because we were going to be chartered by all women, but we wanted to really focus on the fact that women hadn't really come together as a collective whole in the community to make a difference in that community. So we developed a profile of the kind of woman we thought would really emulate what Paul Harris had probably thought about years and years ago when he started Rotary International.
So it was very special, those first years. With the kind of women that were going to be part of the club, that service to the community was going to be dramatic because it was a powerful group.
That is something I will never forget, is how inspiring these women were when they came together as a group. And we were so excited about what we were doing. We were so excited about the fact that we knew that we could really make a contribution to the community, and we could be so much more powerful and so much more influential because we actually were stronger as a whole.
One of the exciting things that happened because we chartered as a women's club is that we were called down to Waterton one year to meet with the then RI president Rajendra Saboo from India. I happened to be the president of the day and went down to meet with him. On my right was our great friend Wilf Wilkinson, who then was chair of the Canada Zone. So he took me by the arm and we walked in to meet with the president of RI, having just chartered as a women's club. I was a little nervous. We had such a wonderful meeting. Rajendra Saboo thought that this was the greatest thing that had happened to Rotary and could only help his cause of promoting joint men and women clubs in Rotary.
Our club was so active. How did we begin our first Rotary International project? Well, it was simply because someone had visited the country of Fiji and had been to a community center, and they needed books. And everyone in our Rotary Club said, okay, we'll collect and we'll ship them. Because we were part of the district, we then connected with the district projects that were happening year after year. Some of those district projects were drilling water wells in Honduras, developing healthcare centers in Guatemala. I went on with a group into Guatemala to take a machine that would operate on cataracts. And we delivered this machine and then went up into the mountains to work with Dr. Carlos to extract cataracts so that people could have eyesight. And it was so thrilling to be there, to see that magic happen. Then it was so important for our philosophy from our club to reach out to other women and children, to other women in different countries we could relate to so well, and we could connect.
The first few years were so challenging, and they were so much fun. And I can tell you that a meeting, I would look out over the group, because I was the charter president in our first year. I would look out over the group and just be overwhelmed at the talent, the energy, the purpose, the we will not fail kind of attitude. And it was amazing, and we had every reason to fail. Nobody wanted us. So when we tried to find a place just to have a meeting, nobody would take us seriously. And we had meetings in some of the most unusual places where people couldn't even find us. Ultimately, we had a hotel that gave us a room, but it was an L-shaped room. And they said, this is the best you can have. So if you can imagine an L-shaped room where you're putting the podium on the short part of the L, nobody on the long part of the L can see anything. We were so happy that somebody wanted us that we just said, we'll take it.
Right off the bat, I was given the job of looking after the finances. And that was easy because we didn't have any. Vi gave us and encouraged us to break the rules. She encouraged us to go out and get incredible members. We were all diverse. We all had different professions and careers. We could sit down with any one of them and just be mesmerized. At least I could.